CJ has to bet, and he's also dumb. Even though he's blind, he's not very fun. He has his own talk show, it's every gamer's dream. It's a crazy little talk show, and it's called Cookies and Cream.
Hey there, it's Cookies, and life can be tough sometimes. As the years go on, more and more does one realize rest and recovery are essential. Now more than ever. Whether a good book, a cozy film by the fire with your family, or a round of video games with your favorite cats or YouTuber himself. Since Cookies was a young lad, he has seen the gauntlet when it comes to the medium as a whole. From weekend trips to Blockbuster with the Madre, scoring those popcorn buckets, or the modern age of digital downloads and streaming platforms with the local pizza spot on DoorDash. Regardless of how you experience these stories, from one controller to the next, one thing is certain. Video gaming as a medium tells a story unlike anything else out there. Stories of friendship and discovery, to loss and redemption, everything in between with the physical connection to our inputs, all paint a magical experience. Which is why today we are going to be breaking down the top 50 greatest stories told within video games. Now, I want to preface a few rules before we kickstart. First, only one game per franchise, which means that like our horror anthology series last year, which you can see on the front of our channel, I am bound to piss some of you off. 2, all genres of gaming stories are eligible, whether single player, co-op, RPG, action, you get the gist. 3, these games have to be officially released, meaning demos for unfinished products will not be on the list. In terms of ranking each game, it's one thing to have a compelling story, but we gotta dive in a bit deeper. We'll be looking at the overall narrative structure, how ideas are conveyed through gameplay, how this game's story impacted the industry as a whole, and most importantly, how memorable is it today? Does it still hold up? This was an expansive task, which saw a ton of input from gamers around the world, and I hope my personal list here can shed some light for you onto the power that games have. Maybe even a game or two you haven't even tried yet. Those moments that made life a little bit easier, whether by providing some laughs and thrills, or getting us to think about life in another light. Feel free to comment your favorite video game stories and why down below. Let me know the vibes. Without further ado, here's our top 50 stories in the history of gaming.
Let's go. Yo, I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it, fuse like a magnet. Lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind. If you work 8 hours, I'ma work 9. If the shit tastes sour, you should taste mine. I'ma stay in power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same. Cause that's what it takes.
Now, Tom Clancy is most noteworthy with his lineup of books, my personal favorite being Rainbow Six. However, during this era of consoles, there was a time Ubisoft would team up with the name in establishing war games from the aforementioned Rainbow Six series to what has made our top 50 narratives in gaming with Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. In this title, Special Agent Sam Fisher is dispatched to defuse a regional crisis fueled by tensions between China, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, and the United States. The core issue is Japan's new information self-defense force, which its neighbors see as a threat, and an internal group is also contributing to this conflict in ways I won't spoil. Sam's mission involves infiltrating North Korea, gathering information, and uncovering the identities of those orchestrating the escalation. Now, the beauty in this story is while international espionage is one thing that's quite cool, we are playing as a stealth operative at the top of his game. We use our wits to interrogate guards and discover secret paths through maps, while the banter between Sam and his team goes through the ups and downs with tone ranging from jokes to oh my god, the world's about to blow up. Hitting that tone akin to the Mission Impossible series, the real story is what happens behind enemy lines, as us, the player. We get so much story serving as a fly on the wall. The threat of one wrong step causing noise and blowing the entire operation up. Almost like when you were a young lad sneaking cookies at 2 in the morning, except now the world's future is on the line. Making those quick movements like jumping up on a ledge and using your legs to stay above threats right below you, or being mere inches away from a world leader gaining intel no one else knows. It's these moments that cement this type of storytelling above the rest. No one does this like a Tom Clancy title. The core story of Shenmue revolves around Ryo Hazuki's quest for revenge after his father's murder. This personal and emotional narrative, it's a departure from typical action games of the time, with prioritizing character development and player investment unlike we've seen before this title. We have an immersive world. Now, it excels at creating a believable and detailed environment. The game, it featured a day-night cycle, NPC schedules throughout each day, interactive environments, things as simple as being able to buy a soda, which we take for granted today, was revolutionary at the time. It made the game world feel alive and engaging, as if you weren't making things change in the world itself, but the world reacted not just to you, but itself. Players could explore shops, play arcade games, interact with a large cast of characters, fostering a strong sense of immersion, especially over the runtime, alongside the fact the game went in a surreal route, grounding itself in architecture of real-world Japan. Despite the focus on personal drama, there is a huge, grand, epic scope in the story. The journey takes Ryo from Japan to Hong Kong, eventually China, encountering these diverse environments with everything that I said previously, adding to the immersion. It was this unique gameplay setup with how we experienced the story. It was adventure, it was part fighter, there was a lot of exploration, quick time events, which were a prominent feature, meaning that you would have to really react quickly to cinematic events, keeping you engaged. There were detailed combat systems, allowing players to even practice moves and upgrade their abilities, giving you more control over how you leveled up your character in the story. It was an innovative approach at the time. World building, which has had a lasting impact on the industry. Games like Yakuza, The Last of Us, Red Dead Redemption, and more wouldn't be the games they are now if it wasn't for Shenmue. More importantly, this title set the precedent for how gamers could interact with the world. What exactly could a game be? Was it you going from stage A to stage B? Or within that transit, could you stop or take a detour to C and maybe live out some of your own fantasies, playing an arcade, getting soda, eating ramen? You name it. This title allowed gamers to construct stories in smaller moments that made them feel even more grounded in such a blockbuster title, easily cementing itself on this list. We have Respawn Entertainment, who worked on some quite notable FPSs we'll get to down the road, making what is arguably the most overlooked single-player first-person shooter campaign of all time in Titanfall 2. Not for the world building, not for the over-the-top cartoonish approach to its villains, but for its emphasis on the relationship of Titan and pilot. See, in this world, there are these giant mechs that you as a pilot can jump into and utilize at any time. Ours is given to us after a battle gone south, and is also voiced by none other than Optimus Prime himself. His dry humor is unhinged, and the way this robot responds to situations is beyond ridiculous.
My scans detect a functioning uplink targeting module, 428 meters northeast. My analysis indicates a throw is our only option here. I can throw you across the gap.
Are you sure about this?
There is a 68% chance of success.
What about the other 32%?
There is a 32% chance of an incomplete traversal, resulting in catastrophic trauma, massive internal bleeding, and multiple compound fractures. Dismemberment may also occur. There is also the possibility of electrocution and disintegration within the toxic fog below. Wind, 3 knots, heading 274, range 95 meters, projectile mass 89 kilograms. Trust me.
Good throw.
You're welcome, pilot. Good luck over there.
Richter, this is Blisk. Ja, here's Richter. That damn bot.
For us as a human, but that only adds to the charm. The scale of the world plays into the story of man and machine. As a pilot, we are frail, yet quick with the ability to parkour and roam the map, even jumping onto robots to cause massive damage to their weak points. However, in the Titan, we can tank hits and cause massive damage. What makes this all the more fun is the Titan we have piloted, known as Titan BT-7274, it can autopilot while we are outside the suit, making the set pieces intense as you jump in and out of your BT in real time to maximize damage and disorientate the enemy. Together, they embark on a quest to stop the Interstellar Manufacturing Corporation from using a super weapon to destroy Planet Harmony, where the militia's base is located. The overall story, it's nothing to write home about, but your interactions with BT and the moment-to-moment gameplay go leaps and bounds in communicating a story of trust, respect, and valor for whomever helps us along the way. It's a powerful send-off to these two, taking on the obstacles they face from overwhelming odds, yet finding creative solutions with each other's strengths and weaknesses to progress. Now, there are some neat late game sections as well, where you can even manipulate time and travel to the same area instantaneously. Titanfall 2, it's earned its place on this list, and I will fight anyone otherwise, as this is a prime example of gameplay conveying emotional narrative beats unlike any other medium in the industry. In today's digital age, it feels like we at times can be imprisoned by the masks society places on us. In comes Joker and gang with a wild open world JRPG of high school students by day turned thieves of the night at night, who go around healing those impacted by this dark essence run amok. These phantom thieves, as they're called, use a supernatural realm called the metaverse to steal the corrupted hearts of adults, aiming to change society as a whole. The game blends social simulation with dungeon crawling as players navigate daily life and the metaverse, building relationships and battling shadows. The story centers around the protagonist, who is on probation after being falsely accused of an assault charge, and his journey of self-discovery and rebellion against societal injustice. Rebellion galore. What aids this tale beyond the outlandish casts that evolve over the 200 to 300 hour runtime, or the visual art style, comes the soundtrack that embraces that teenage rebellious nature, while not being afraid to hit hard with some shocking chord executions. The game is massive, as in multiple playthroughs are needed given the freedom players have, while you battle and collect these masks, beings at night, like they are Pokemon. During the day, it's up to you to live your life. Attending class and getting these wild-ass answers wrong, yes, I too was daydreaming, working at the local cafe, going on dates, playing games, hitting the spa, and forming bonds and storylines with dozens of characters. The beauty is the sheer freedom to experience this game on your merits. Every single piece of interactive element you can do while progressing the main story improves your character in some capacity, whether it's through agility, whether it's through relationships with other characters in your squad, the whole 10 yards. The overarching narrative never goes away while you're going through this entire school year, living life as you see fit. That's the beauty in this experience. You don't have to perfect every mechanic. It lets you get lost in your own year of school, a light-hearted tale tackling difficult subject matter in a way only games can, with a style unlike any other. Persona 5 is the perfect example of a story you can have your way while feeling like you really are a part of the adventure.
You know, we never talked about it while we still wore the colors. All this time out in the freak show when shit like this didn't matter anymore. When we wrote out a farewell without Sarah, I knew that we were leaving everything behind.
What did you do?
Everything that mattered was gone.
Now, what we have here is the most underappreciated IP Sony has released in recent years. Days Gone is set up like 2 seasons to a really great show, as we play Deacon St. John, who is a biker that got separated from his lover at the dawn of the apocalypse. We play through his experiences with his fellow rider Boozer as they traverse the Oregon landscape, working for rival factions, surviving on their own, and unraveling the mystery as to what happened the night Deacon got separated from Sarah. Now, this title is everything you could ask for from the cinematic presentation, characters that you grow with over the course of the game, decisions and surprises in the script that will actually catch you off guard, but the real steal of the show is how the world conveys its story through just that. Your traversal in the environment out in the Pacific Northwest. Having to fuel up on gas, scavenge for supplies, do run-throughs of infestation zones burning nests, and much more on your bike. We spend so much time in the open world feeling as if we are always going up against it all. Whether fellow factions not always vibing with each other, with us caught in the middle, to the hordes, and I mean the hordes of the undead, and even the harsh weather climates, or the natural landscape itself, even all of the animals that live out there looking for something to munch on. All of this is experienced with our motorcycle, which becomes a part of Deacon just as much as the environment and those around him. You could not survive in this world without your bike. Think Walking Dead meets Sons of Anarchy. That's probably the best analogy I could make for this game. Days Gone is a title focused on the reconstruction of a man lost in a world where he only tries to do the right thing, making those long treks across the Pacific West a beauty as much as a horrifying descent into the harm of isolationism, backed by a dynamic cast of characters that all evolve dramatically over the game's 40 to 50 hour runtime. It's a broken road well worth traveling, and a story that gives the player a place in the world, if not to help lessen the strain on one's own moral compass over time. Days Gone's an unforgettable adventure. There's nothing quite like the decisions made in this game, and with the way you're able to upgrade and evolve over the course of it, it brings a lot of humanity to the story in ways a lot of apocalyptic adventures kind of forget, especially in video games. Days Gone nails it.
We have our orders. Leave the city, radio command from outside the storm wall. They send in the cavalry, we go home.
Sometimes war stories go beyond the call of duty. What about the lasting impact of such trauma, or how inhumane acts can cause our own psyches to break and shift before us? Spec Ops: The Line has grown with a cult following, and I can say is one of the better titles I've played in the previous generations. Captain Martin Walker leads a Delta Force team into a sandstorm-ravaged Dubai to find a missing Colonel Conrad and his battalion. As they delve deeper, the team encounter increasingly horrific situations and must make brutal choices, blurring the lines between hero and villain. The game explores the psychological toll of war, challenging the player's perception of right and wrong through its narrative. This game is iconic for that white phosphorus scene.
We're not leaving Dubai until the survivors can be safely evacuated.
That's white phosphorus. You've seen what this shit does. You know we
Might not have a choice, Lugo.
There's always a choice.
This isn't just about finding Conrad anymore. Hover disabled! It's about doing what's right.
Why?
You brought this on yourself.
We were helping. Are those civilians? This is your fault, goddammit!
Stop right there, Lugo.
He wouldn't listen!
We didn't have a choice!
He turned us into fucking killers!
We need to keep moving.
Where in utilizing this illegal weaponry, we soon discover the team had accidentally opened fire on innocent civilians and the same soldiers they were sent to protect. Yes, it's gut-wrenching for us players during an era of explosive COD campaigns, but the shocking details go deeper. Soon time starts becoming convoluted in this narrative, with our player character reliving encounters and subtle hints throughout the story leak into the twist that his mission was FUBAR from the start. Speaking into broken radios as if someone is there, thinking he has to choose between two people who are already dead, and much more. The team of 3 are recon, and having a smaller cast makes for an emphasis on dramatic scenes and how each are handling this situation they should have never been sent into in the first place. Whether it was for hubris, ego, or actually to bring someone home. Making their deaths hit harder at the end when it comes to the forefront that the Colonel has been dead the whole time. And in a beauty of game design, we are given the ability as players to use controls to decide the fate of our main protagonist. This journey, it's grounded in all the right ways, while preserving some of the strongest narrative themes akin to writings of, say, Tim O'Brien. War stories tend to bleed together over time, especially in video games. But Spec Ops: The Line, in spite of its generic gameplay format, is a video game that holds a lantern up as one of the best there is. A shattered look into the mind of a soul who's trying to justify the best of a bad situation.
Even now, we can still go home. You know, Captain, we drove through this whole city to find you. We saw things. You don't mind me asking, what was it like? How'd you survive all this? Who said I did?
My name is Vito Scaletta. I was born in Sicily in 1925.
Games are beautiful in the way they can frame a story, giving us control to explore periods that have passed. Within the late 20th century, the rise in mob-centric tales blew up with The Godfather, Scarface, The Sopranos, more than I can count. In comes Hangar 13 with Mafia 2, which arguably perfected the formula set by its predecessor. Here we play as Vito Scaletta, a war veteran who returns to his hometown of Empire Bay and gets involved with the Mafia to pay off his father's debts and escape poverty. The game explores themes of loyalty, betrayal, and the American dream as Vito rises through the ranks of the Falcone crime family, making difficult choices and facing the consequences of his actions. Ultimately, Vito and his best friend Joe Barbaro become made men, but their journey is filled with violence, betrayal, and the harsh realities of organized crime. The story pays homage to the classics, nailing the authenticity of the era in a way only titles like, well, the other Mafia games or LA Noire have been able to accomplish before. The mission structure also emphasizes a turning point in narrative-driven adventure titles. One mission may start with you disguised as a janitor planning bags of money, only to end in a shootout car chase, or maybe an escort mission of a high-ranking political figure, only to turn into a shit show as we have to discard a woman he unfortunately kills in a drunken rampage. The missions are dynamic and never stay the same for long, which both A, engages the player, and B, plays into the idea that life in this family was always uncertain and your hands never stayed clean in the chase for power and freedom. This series at its heart nails the relationship between Vito and Joe, who over time have their friendship tested in a penultimate where the game plays a huge twist. And Joe, who's set to betray us from the start, doesn't do it. And if anything, he saves us. Mafia films always set up betrayals, and here Joe keeps us alive, only for the two to head off into the sunset in separate cars, in which Joe's taken another path. The impression is the family Vito set off into is going to kill Joe, and these haunting lines stay with the player. The game, it succeeds in evolving such a dynamic cast and showing that in this life of crime, the point of no return in most cases is realized far too late, when the focus for what we're fighting for all along becomes clear. Mafia 2 is a timeless narrative classic.
What the hell is this?
It's all right, Joe.
Is it done?
It's done.
All right, then. Looks like a celebration is in order. Come on, let's head to the cat house.
Sounds good to me.
Come with me, Vito. There's more we need to talk about.
All right, we'll see you over there.
All right. So what's the big secret? Hey, what the hell's going on? Where they taking Joe?
Sorry, kid. Joe wasn't part of our deal.
A story where the viewer controls the pacing. Count us in for this detective tale as we comb through 3 films which feature the same main actress who disappeared after the last one was made. 3 separate decades. Starting up, we have a handful of scenes to watch, in which we can pause and rewind clips to select anything in the shot, whether a person, a place, an object, you name it. This will then teleport us to another random clip across the 3 films in which that same object we selected is there, meaning you can hyperfixate on, say, a cross or a mirror shard, or even a specific person or emotion, and then follow that to your heart's desire. This is such a fun detective tale that transcends storytelling, giving us, the players, the ability to piece things together ourselves, to formulate plans, ideas, concepts, and create these stories within stories, as we see a lot of the behind the scene footage of making the film, as well as rehearsals and the films themselves. Meaning the path to the end result of what happened to our main protagonists here will be different for every single person, let alone revelations that make breaking out the notepad vital and rewarding, akin to the OG Legend of Zelda days, with a top-notch crew that makes chasing one specific member an absolute blast. Immortality poses themes of art and transparency in a way no other game has, especially with the twist that will reward players who dive deeper and deeper into the depths of each carefully constructed scene. Having gone through and 100%ed this, as well as playing through it 2 additional times since release, the amount of detail and ways that even the smallest abstract ideas and set pieces within each scene, how it all intertwines together, is nothing short of marvelous, and there's nothing else like it. Immortality is a fantastic experience and one of those perfect narrative adventure games where if you're trying to point at games being art, this is a clear example of one you want to go right towards. Remedy Entertainment makes stories unlike any other developer. There's a thematic presentation to the writing that has evolved over the years and titles to come on this list, but Max Payne 2 is a memorable adventure for 3 main reasons: its bullet time mechanics, the atmosphere, and the narration led by the late James McCaffrey.
Vlad was right. There are no choices, nothing but a straight line. The illusion comes afterwards, when you ask why me and what if. When you look back, see the branches, like a pruned bonsai tree or a forked lightning. If you had done something differently, it wouldn't be you. It would be someone else looking back, asking a different set of questions.
Rest his soul. Max Payne 2 sees our main protagonist from the first game reinstated into the NYPD after his revenge rampage over those who killed his wife and child. The story is narrated from Max's perspective, who recalls the events of the past few days. We see a lot of the world in retrospect, with Max's lines giving his uncanny feel to not only the environments you run through, but how they are shaped by what Max has been through, paired with comic book style to simulate a noir-esque tale with presentation original for the time. This also bleeds into the bullet time system, which gives a grandiose flair to the combat as Max teams up with a contracted killer by the name of Mona, and the game sees us go through both of their perspectives while they see who put the hit on Max in recovery. This game is all about the guilt one holds and how they can move on from the past. With such a creative presentation, this gave you the ability to play out your own dark comic book with lines that still send chills down my spine. Not to mention how that dialogue and narration of a protagonist would go on to further evolve the format for how you are given tutorials or even objectives in video games, completely redistributing how communications between mechanics to the player is actually handled. That's brilliant game design, way ahead of its time. The path between honor and vengeance has been shown in plenty of pop culture media from films to games, yet nowhere is it more prominent than in Ghost of Tsushima, an open-world adventure that asks our samurai descendant to really question what it means to be a warrior and if the ends are justified. What about in relation to legacy, to family, to one's own self? This open world action light RPG gives us free reign to move between methods of disposal from both the samurai and ninja playstyle. One focused on action and upfront encounters, while the other emphasizes hiding in the shadows with more guerrilla style tactics. Beats in the main plot will push our character into both realms, ultimately building towards a dramatic conclusion where we eventually have to choose the legend we want to leave behind. While the acting and details to Japanese filmmaking is top-notch, it's in the way the open world exists alongside us that this story rises above a majority in the industry. See, there are no arrows. The world is beautiful, and in all instances, it's the waves, the wildlife, even the wind that guides the player organically to the next destination, never breaking immersion. Moments where we can craft our own haiku and experience countless stories, testing the will of the samurai with a composition of music that shows the level of respect and authenticity this team had with the source material. This is the best samurai title ever made. And while these details in the open world are fun and immersive, they allow us as a player to further invest into the decisions we make as Jin Sakai, regardless of reason. So is the way of the samurai, underneath the skies of a ninja. Deep metaphors? Play the game, the narrative's incredible. Metroid as a series owned the SNES when Super Metroid came out, creating a world that was eerie to explore and always had you in harm's way, unknowing what would come next, whether it be a new creature that required different tactics or a brand new power-up that allowed you to explore inaccessible areas prior, encouraging backtracking. When the GameCube dropped, the movement to 3D was a huge benefit for many legendary Nintendo IPs, and this is especially true with Metroid Prime. The first entry to be in first person showed a fundamental understanding why Metroid excels regardless of perspective. Players control the bounty hunter, Samus Aran, as she battles the space pirates and their biological experiments on the planet Talon 4. Having the ability to see everything from Samus's point of view changes the way the horrors consume us. As much as that fear fuels the courage needing to survey the lands and find a way off of this abandoned planet. Details like the effects on screen from intense heat or ice, mixed with rare moments where we can see our own reflection in the visor, it goes a long way towards the immersion of this title. We also have a scanner which helps us truly roleplay as a dangerous bounty hunter who is the first of her kind to explore this ancient civilization. The story gives us the template to expand upon when crafting our elite space bounty hunter, whom also serves as one of the greatest female protagonists in all of gaming. Soma is arguably Frictional's best take on horror writing, and it still stands today. Our main protagonist is going in for a checkup, a doctor's appointment that's left ambiguous at the start, due to some undisclosed brain injury, only to awaken under the ocean in an underwater facility surrounded by machines gone haywire, thinking they are human. Soon meeting a person by the name of Catherine, who aids in his attempt to escape the bottom of the sea and discover how he came to be where he is. The late game revelations are mind-blowing as we further descend to the bottom depths far past what is humanly possible, as we come into contact with this organic matter that is creating a hive mind of sorts. The monsters are eerie, and the ideas to the forefront regarding what is human are thought-provoking in a way no other game before or since has really nailed. It's the ability to have you lost with no rhyme or reason, or idea as to what to do next. Games succeed with interactive presentation. And let's be honest, when a lot of philosophical questions are coming your way as you're stranded at the bottom of a deep sea ocean, and you're walking the grounds and it's just pitch dark and you're having all these thoughts and ideas spoken to you as well as conveying out to others, it hits in a way a lot of entertainment simply can't. Where to go, what to think. It makes you marinate on these smaller moments like a robot crushed under debris not wishing to be turned off, or a moment we need to take a battery from one of two robots, one showing emotion and one not. And many more I will not spoil. This journey in the first-person perspective will make you uncomfortable long after the credits roll, and for all of the right reasons. A sign of brilliant world design that earns this title a spot on the list. Time travel stories where you can rewind are nothing new in this medium, let alone storytelling in general. But during the mid-2000s, we saw a dramatic shift in focus on indie development in the gaming industry, with Braid serving as a frontrunner and capturing an audience through gameplay. The basic story elements in Braid unfold as the protagonist Tim attempts to rescue a princess from a monster in another castle. If this sounds like Super Mario Bros., well, you are absolutely spot on. text passages laid throughout the game reveal a multifaceted narrative, giving clues about Tim's contemplations and motivations. The game features traditionally defining aspects of the platform genre, while also integrating various novel powers of time manipulation. Using these abilities, the player progresses through the game by finding and assembling jigsaw puzzle pieces, thus creating, no pun intended, the full picture. While the puzzles are grand, the art style is timeless, and the narration places the heart at ease. It's in the final chapter's revelations that this title secures its place with a story that can only be told with video games. It's the subtle Mario nod of, your princess is in another castle, except in the final level you are using your powers to chase the monster who is there to take away the princess. However, when you rewind your rewind in the final level itself, it shows us that we are indeed the monster the princess has been running away from. With nothing left at the end outside this reveal and, a secret ending or two, the full scope of events come to the forefront in a way that the gamer is left in this state of stasis, where it's hard to determine how to feel about Tim and the adventure as a whole. It's a brilliant ending and again shows the power of storytelling through gameplay. Dishonored is one of the most underappreciated IPs in Bethesda's window. Established as a first-person light RPG, the game emphasizes a world we haven't seen before. One that morphs an oil-style painting with that of a grunge punk future, mixing in British armaments of the late 20th century and a modern take on the utilization of technology, oil, but all of which in a cartoonish art style to contradict the violence within. That was a blender of a sentence, and I am all for it. Having been framed for murder of the Empress in a world that is succumbing to a black plague of sorts, our hero, or villain, Corto, goes on a journey with an underground rebellion to save the Empress's daughter and bring to light what is truly going on. The game has these large expanse of levels that you can explore, and what you do or even how you do it is entirely up to your discretion. There are no fail states outside of you dying. The trick is the world does react to every choice you make. Start murdering more guards, and the areas in repeat runs will be invested with rats because of all the dead corpses, causing you to use the environment differently. The enemies will be different. There will be more infected in the streets. Vice versa, leave guards alive, and patrols may increase with more sporadic movements underground needed by the player to avoid all of the impressive technological devices on the surface. Each major level has us trying to eliminate a major political threat in the world. How you do this again is entirely up to you, and the world will respond to it. Characters will comment on how you dispose of major threats, and the entire finale can change drastically based on how you play the game. You can go through the game without even killing a single person, or the exact opposite. The fact this world's design is creative and unrestrictive of player action means that you get an experience that most games since have not been able to crack, making 2 dynamic playthroughs absolutely worth it to get the full lay of character arcs and where the world can end up. Kingdom Hearts is considered an amazing story by many due to its unique blend of Disney's whimsical charm with the complex themes and storytelling style of Final Fantasy. The series, it excels at crafting heartfelt narratives that explore themes of friendship, light versus darkness, and the importance of cherishing said relationships. It's considered to have, even one of the better stories in the industry. The story of light versus darkness, friendship, and the power of hearts resonates with many players. While the series can become a tad convoluted down the road, the emotional core of the narrative and the memorable characters keep players invested. You have this unique crossover again of turn-based Final Fantasy in real time mixed in with Disney, seeing Donald Duck and all these other guys, iconic, fighting alongside you. It's quite engaging. The story, while sometimes a bit on the complex side, it's driven by strong narrative of that light versus darkness thematic presentation with the search for one's heart and of course the importance of friendship. It bleeds together quite well, and there are memorable characters, Sora, Riku, Kairi, whose journeys of self-discovery and overcoming adversity are both relatable and inspiring. A game like this with some emotional depth that would not be too far out of the ordinary in the current age of gaming. There's that sense of wonder with all of the Disney IPs that you get to explore these levels. Being with The Little Mermaid was kind of freaking sort of awesome. All those Disney worlds and iconic characters and themes, they add that extra layer of borderline breaking the fourth wall for the game, or for the gamer. All of this comes together in a surprising package that was lightning in a bottle and still worth revisiting today. Co-op games have been around for a long time. Pawn walked so we could eventually run. Different styles of gameplay from split screen to LAN to online, you name it. Well, what if there was a narrative-driven adventure where regardless how you played with a friend, you always saw their screen and exactly what they were doing? A Way Out has the two main characters share a screen, which allows for a wild approach to cinema and puzzles. We have two prisoners who share a common interest with the corrupt figure that locked them both up. What follows is a revenge story where they fight to escape, reunite with their families, handle their baggage, and take care of loose ends. Dynamic situations like using each other to balance up a wall, to highway chases, and what is quite arguably the greatest co-op scene in a game, also known as the hospital level. This journey is one that gives players the ability to choose certain paths through levels where you can only see one per playthrough, on top of silly games like shooting some hoops or playing Connect 4. What's even grander is sometimes perspective shift to emphasize a moment for one character over another. Moments where Leo confronts his son about his life of crime, or Vincent trying to call in one last favor for the big hit to make it back to his unborn kid. These two form quite the bond over the runtime, which makes the penultimate an absolute shock. Soon it is revealed that Leo was handling a deal for his boss. Alongside him was a plant he did not know who died when a deal went south. Unfortunately, that was Vincent's brother, and he was there ready to bust this score, but soon his life and marriage began to fall apart knowing he was not able to save his brother. Which this revelation comes out in gameplay as Vincent is focused on covering their tracks and being discreet not to blow his cover, while Leo's methods are notoriously gun-ho, leading to a final conflict where Leo and Vincent fight it out with one player unfortunately taking the other's life. Recontextualizing the title, as while both of these guys won a way out from the past, it could only work out for one of them, with an incredible finale that sees the one side of the screen close on the other, signifying their death and the burden the surviving teammate takes on. I remember all the fun shit talked between myself and my brother, only to get here and be silent to the game's stunning conclusion. A Way Out set the standard for revelations in co-op games, let alone storytelling. And without further ado, if you don't believe me, take a look at the hospital level.
Shit! There he is! He's running for it! Get him! Hey! Freeze! Don't move!
He's over there! Stop! You're under arrest!
Stop! Hey, yo! There he is! He's running for it! Freeze! Oh, shit! Give up! Better show yourself. Murray, you got anything? No, it's all clear.
Come on,
Hey,
open, goddammit!
You under arrest.
Open!
Hey, watch it.
He's over there!
Stop him.
Hey, you can't be in here! Someone call security!
Freeze! I need to get up in that vent.
He's over there. Are you shitting me?
All right, come on, let's go.
You want to fight? Let's fight. He's over there. Don't let him get away.
I'll beat every single one of you. Come on.
How'd that feel, huh?
Damn, I need to find a way out of here.
I don't know. I don't think he's that stupid.
Now, 2D side-scrolling fighters, it's a beautiful genre. Back in the early arcade days, titles like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat ruled the scene. Quarters on quarters being eaten up, all those glorious fatalities. In the 7th generation of consoles, fighters were stagnating when it came to the mainstream market, which even die-hard fans will tell you has always been an uphill battle. The mechanics are the forefront, and the ceiling in most titles is hard for newbies like me to enjoy the game. So what do? Add an X-ray system to showcase the gore, emphasize modes that, produce training and learning the ropes, and retell the story of the first 3 titles through a cinematic blockbuster film series where the flow of cutscenes is broken up by the fighting levels themselves. Mortal Kombat 9 brought back iconic favorites like Shao Kahn, Cyrax, Scorpion, and good old Johnny Cage, and in the new lens truly made something original at the time. The cutscenes themselves offering more background to the fights, making the moment-to-moment gameplay all the more exhilarating. This wasn't the first time a fighter had a story, but this is the first one that nailed the presentation and set the standard for all fighting tales moving forward, and I would argue reignited the joy of fighters in the mainstream. Loading screens are interesting. Early years with titles like Resident Evil saw them as a solution for limited hardware, but at the same time it served as a way to create tension. You never knew what was in the next room, give you a few seconds to ponder it in pitch dark. In comes a unique homage to the series in Dead Space, a game where we play as an engineer on a team heading to a planet-cracking ship that has gone dark. Once we crash land, it all goes to hell, and we fight to not only reunite with our team, but search for our girlfriend who is also working on the ship. The thing emits event horizons in one of the first of maybe 5 minutes of total runtime. The Thing mixed with event horizons is what this game proclaims to be. It's one of the first one-shots in gaming as well. See, games utilize load screens in many ways, but Dead Space refuses to break immersion. Outside of maybe 5 minutes of total runtime, the entire game never takes physical control away from the player. Load screens are hidden in real time, so you are always in game. This was especially tense when enemies from one end of the ship can follow you to the other side, and you can hear them riding atop of a train or rumbling through vents. It's eerie and adds a sense of horror and place in the world most games don't have. Never breaking away from gameplay also ensures we as a player always stand in the mindset of Isaac Clarke. This alone is revolutionary when we actively explore the ship and never feel safe, since at any point an enemy can come out of nowhere. The environmental storytelling is also top-notch. The game world also never breaks its rules, whether it's having to dismember the enemies limb from limb, or having your main engineer only use engineering tools to fend off enemies. Also a pulse rifle, but I digress. Meaning, we fully invest ourselves in his thought process for survival. Paired with quite an original IP origin story, with revelations of what happened to the crew on ship and stranded on the planet, Dead Space Remake takes an already exceptional formula by its predecessor and perfects it. Horror never felt so real. The original God of War trilogy was a massive success as Kratos goes through 3 simple arcs: avenge his family he was forced to kill by killing the God of War, get stricken by hubris and learn Zeus is your daddy, and then kill every single Greek god there is. It's a stellar trilogy, simple, so once the new reveal for the new God of War came out, everyone joked about how Kratos was now the dad of war, having to watch over his son in what appears to be Norse mythology versus the latter, which was Greek and Roman. The story sees us try to understand how Kratos got here, and the journey for him and Atreus to bury the ashes of his mother atop a mountain. Yes, the twist at the end with Atreus being revealed to be Loki is quite sick, since we as people know, oh lordy, the sequel is about to be crazy. And yes, while Ragnarok as a sequel is a brilliant subversion of expectations, it's in the first title's use of Kratos that the story ages so well, taking our preconceived ideas of who Kratos is, those simple executions he did in the first trilogy, and then evolving who he is becoming. It's a fascinating tale that spans nearly 30 hours to completion and adds a layer of depth to a character that was originally a bit more one-dimensional.
On the day you were born, I made 2 knives, mixing metals from my home and from this land. One for myself, and when you were ready, one for you. Today is that day.
So I'm a man now, like you?
No. We are not men. We are more than that. The responsibility is far greater. And you must be better than me. Understand? Say it.
I will be better.
We see another side of a legendary Sony IP that ages quite well and brings a whole new perspective on where the character can go. Films have shown before recapturing the magic of what was, it's not easy. Yet God of War does it both mechanically as a game and structurally from Kratos as a character, leaving a lasting impact for years to come.
Power of this weapon, any weapon, comes from here. But only when tempered by this. By the discipline, the self-control of the one who wields it. That is where the true strength of a warrior lies. You must never forget that. Good then. Come.
An indie studio that shook the gaming ecosystem to its core deserves to be on this list. With such an original tale, Clair Obscur was a breath of fresh air for gaming in 2025, taking place in a dark fantasy Belle Epoque type setting. The game follows the volunteers of Expedition 33 as they set out to destroy the Paintress, a being causing the yearly gommage, which erases those at or above an ever-decreasing age. In the game, the player controls a party of characters from a third-person perspective, exploring areas and engaging in combat. Coupled with its turn-based mechanics are real-time aspects such as quick-time events and timed actions in combat.
Thinking about girls.
Yeah, but guess what? The girls weren't thinking about me at all.
I believe that.
Yeah. You can talk to me. The family. Well, that's what the paperwork said, at least.
Well, the paperwork probably says we're dead too, so...
Yeah, probably. Ooh, nice one.
I know.
I told you, don't get cocky. It was... okay.
You taught me great.
What's funny is this title is a turn-based system that has glorified Simon Says. It is red light, green light, but the music, combined with the sound design, environmental detail, and paralyzing tale about grief and vengeance, come together to build an unprecedented adventure. This game takes the best aspects from the older Final Fantasy titles, giving us a wide range of characters to control as we explore a world unlike we've ever seen before, with numerous emotional gut punches littering the epic scale battles that push our own abilities and psyche to their limits with such engrossing environments. The cinematic presentation surpassing most AAA studios, the gameplay allowing us to parry and dodge any attack, meaning unlike most turn-based games, as long as you are skilled, you can overcome anything, which is central to the plot. Then there's the story, which I can't spoil here, but where it ends up going may be one of the most beautifully gut-wrenching finales that really sit with you well beyond the end credits and get you to reassess how you view art. Expedition 33 is a masterclass in design mixed with storytelling and one journey worth taking.
Clair-obscur, noir et opaque, tu trouveras sans elle. Clair-obscur, trouble de rature, courbera et fait. Clair-obscur, noir et opaque, tu trouveras sans elle.
Why can't you accept who you are?
Hey, Shampoo!
For those who come after. Right?
No. You promised!
Gaming as a form of entertainment can allow for some incredible power fantasies. Superheroes fit this mold quite well, especially Batman Arkham City. Easily the best of the trilogy, Rocksteady Studios gives players an open playground to use Batman's own tools, detective knowledge, and combat prowess to reenact scenes the Dark Knight wished it had. The story setup evaluates the stakes as Batman is trapped within a city used to house the world's The story setup elevates the stakes as Batman is trapped within a city used to house the world's worst villains Gotham knows, meaning iconic characters like Deadshot, Mr. Freeze, the Riddler, and of course the Joker are in full force serving as the main antagonists. You have a main story with optional side objectives that pushes your Batman to his limits. One side quest has a bunch of phone booths you need to answer and decipher where the innocents are before they are tortured. Another are deadshot victims where you have to analyze the crime scenes to determine where the shots had taken place, with some hidden Easter eggs and special side quests that will make any Batman fan jump for joy. What makes this story stand out is not simply in its near-perfect execution of Batman and legendary characters, but in analyzing the Joker and the relationship between Batman and Joker. Batman as a series has excelled when serving as a character study for its villains. The Joker ends up infecting Batman with his infected blood from the first game, in which both are now set to die unless a cure is found. Some late-game tricks and treachery leads to a final confrontation with Clayface and this shocking scene.
Quick! The cure! What are you waiting for? Come on! I killed your girlfriend, poisoned Gotham and hell. It's not even breakfast. But so what? We all know you'll save me.
Every decision you've ever made ends with death and misery. People die. I stop you. You'll just break out and do it again.
Think of it as a running gag! No! Are you happy now?
Do you want to know something funny? Even after everything you've done, I would have saved you.
You know, that actually is pretty funny.
Coordinate. What the hell happened in there? Batman! What happened?
That is one of the ballsiest gut punches in the history of any hero video game. Taking such an iconic character and killing them off shows the weight of Joker himself, what he had and brought to the town. Even Batman is speechless. He doesn't understand how to process. Even though this evil is now gone, there's a hole there. I ended up crying, and Joker's kind of sort of a dirtbag. That's the beauty in this game's story. Yes, we get to fully live out the Batman-style fantasy, soaring as the Caped Crusader trying to bring justice to the streets of Gotham. Although below the surface, we have a dual character study between Batman and the Joker that we haven't seen executed in the same way before. It's a unique dynamic where the Joker needs Batman just as much as the Batman needs the Joker. Nier Automata's story is acclaimed for its philosophical depth, unique narrative structure and emotional impact, particularly its exploration of existentialism, the nature of consciousness, and the meaning of existence. To be or not to be, we've all read Shakespeare. What begins as a by-the-numbers action JRPG quickly dissolves into one. Nier Automata's storyline revolves around a proxy war between androids and machine lifeforms on a post-apocalyptic Earth, where humanity has fled to the moon, or at least what's left of it. The game follows androids 2B, 9S, and A2 as they fight against the machines, uncovering deeper truths about their own existence and the nature of the war. The game subverts expectations by presenting the same events from multiple perspectives, forcing players to piece together the full narrative and confront complex themes. This game tells a story in an unconventional way. In most media, you read a book and get to the ending, watch a film and credits roll. But this game does something different with its cycles of playthroughs. Your first playthrough will be of 2B, and you will get the fundamental scope of the world with some captivating encounters and some high-level areas that feel like New Game Plus territory. Okay, all is good. There are some joke endings you can get in the game, like eating a poisonous fish by accident, even though you're an android, so maybe I go back and, do a New Game Plus run. Wait, this cutscene is new. Now we play as 9S and have a brand new set of moves and scenes. Encounters are all different, and now we get even more unique scenes with brand new characters. And soon this proxy war, it boils to an overflow when it's revealed this war we are fighting to maintain the rest of humanity that's alive on the moon, it's made up. It doesn't exist. Humanity is extinct, and this mission was given to offer purpose to machines that didn't have direction, but still had intellect and could develop emotion. Those same bots that are reaching towards stories like Adam and Eve to find some justification for their failed mission. The plot only gets more insane there, and soon we as players continue to question when is the end. As new playthroughs shed more layers of this descending spiral of a tale that had me on the edge of my seat to the dramatic conclusion that subverts the ideas of what stories in games can tell. It is only from these multiple playthroughs does the full story make sense, thus giving incentive in a creative manner to fully uncover the ultimate question. What's next? Many praise Bethesda for the resurrection of the Fallout IP, and some would argue that the first two are still at the top of the game when it comes to player-driven decision-making. However, in many eyes, Obsidian are the ones who crafted what is arguably the best entry in the long-running franchise, on top of making this list. New Vegas takes the gameplay systems from 3 and merges it with the questline and faction systems of the older titles into what is the ultimate gaming PB&J. Our created character awakens after being executed with a bullet to the head and out in the Nevada desert with only one mission in mind. Find who did this and kick his little hiney. From their decisions are all up to the player. Want to steal everything? Go for it. Want to choose sides in an ongoing war over territory and ideology in New Vegas? Have at it. Want to skip a 30-hour trek through valleys by going through a severely dangerous and overpopulated minefield infested with deathclaws that'll kill you with one swing at every turn? Be my guest. The game early on seems slower paced, but that constant road trip feeling of getting from point A to point B on the outskirts as you see New Vegas in the distance, trying to get to the center of it. It constantly fuels you in a way many games miss the mark on. It's a road trip that you're creating yourself, and the game doesn't limit you in where you can and can't go. It is your call. It's this snowball of a wild expedition that only gets crazier until the bubble bursts once you enter New Vegas, and you're involved with all these different groups and factions trying to fight for power, with casinos galore, and a plot that actually comes together and forces you to find your place amongst all those various factions. This game gives you a lot of flexibility to craft your adventure as you see fit and come to the endings that feel right for you. And that's gaming with a purpose. Bethesda in their younger years had some bangers. Revitalizing Fallout 3 was one thing, but then taking their FPS formula and creating what was one of the most pivotal RPGs of the 7th generation of consoles. Skyrim saw our created character hand-select a wide range of backgrounds and ethnicities in the world to play out as an adventurer for the ages. It's an epic narrative scale with personal stakes. Skyrim, it intertwines a grand world-ending conflict, the return of Alduin, the World Eater, with the deeply personal journey of the Dragonborn, aka you, who is uniquely positioned to stop this catastrophic event. The narrative, it creates a sense of both cosmic importance and responsibility in you as the player. Decisions you make will have consequences. There's this all-out sense of rich and immersive world building. It feels alive and deeply layered with history that you can discover long before you even began there. There's a lot of player agency within the story. There is a central narrative, but Skyrim excels at giving players the freedom to carve their own paths, create their own stories within the world. You could choose to focus on the main quest, the vast open world, various factions, Dark Brotherhood, companions, or even just roam and discover random encounters. There's so much story in this game you can easily miss on the first, second, third, fourth, or even fifth playthrough. There are memorable and iconic characters, and the lore of the world, and really kind of serving as like an architect to uncover and unravel all of its mysteries. It makes this a journey well worth investing in, and one of the pivotal titles of the 7th generation of consoles. In comes what may be the wildest net range of choose-your-own-adventure style moments ever in a video game. Detroit Become Human in many ways is Quantic Dream's magnum opus with Sony. They created Heavy Rain, which emphasized decision-making that changes the narrative, with QuickTime events filling in the action. While great for its time, the full extent of where the design could go was fully realized here. In Detroit Become Human, we play as 3 separate androids who are unrelated at the beginning, until a revolution behind the scenes draw their paths closer together. One leading a revolution for android rights, one on the run with a little girl, and one investigating corrupt murders from androids in the area with a strange link to all of them. Also being paired with a pompous prick of a detective partner who's equally funny as he is, you guessed it, a prick. The world building is immaculate as we see this war from numerous perspectives with characters along the way that will leave a lasting impression on you. The sheer number and moments that can alter the course of the game is astonishing. For example, hiding from guards and accidentally moving at the wrong moment can change the next 2 to 3 hours of game for that specific character. The mirage here is powerful as there are decisions that can be missed entirely, some that may not even have a repercussion given other choices made before and after the fact, all connected with these webs at the end of each level. The game is not afraid to show you how expansive the tale can get. At the end of every section, you are shown how many decisions you made, what ones were locked out or missed, and where this leads you in X number of outcomes. Not only does this make replayability a blast as we see exactly how different things can be and how honest the game is with the choices we make, but it adds to the semblance that your choices are making significant differences. Heck, the endgame cinematic has over 4.5 hours of different cutscenes based on how you played the game. It helps that production value from the VAs to the world design, combat sequences, expansive levels of choices, and more are all high production. You have a large say in who each of these protagonists become, whether they team up or fight against each other too. And years later, I'm still finding new outcomes and hidden scenes. Detroit Become Human is to this day the peak of modern day AAA story-driven choose-your-own-adventure titles, with some decisions I can't believe I made in the moment and couldn't wait to revisit from a whole new perspective, giving Welcome to Canada a brand new meaning. Your princess is in another castle. The classic tale as old as time, now in video game form with Shadow of the Colossus. We play as a nameless kid who travels to a distant land to uncover a remedy to save his love who has passed. 16 bosses stand in our way. The visual storytelling out the gate is top notch. As first, the lands are so large making us feel insignificant. The way we swing our sword shows we are no trained soldier, and the clumsiness of our movements show at times we are in over our heads, especially against these grandiose beasts, which was revolutionary at the time for gaming. Games didn't really show the weakness in the character to this regard. However, throughout the game, every time we kill one, a distant voice echoes, our goal being one step closer, although we start changing in appearance. The beauty in this game, it's in the details. It may not be apparent at first, but these creatures aren't doing anything to us until we attack in most instances. They are mainly defending themselves, and in some cases are fearful of us. By the end of the adventure, it's revealed this land was a prison for a force beyond nature that uses our desire to free our loved one as a way to escape. By consuming the kid and attempting to break free, only for a religious group to come and lock us away. Which, to back it up, the bosses in this game are David and Goliath style, as each one is a puzzle as we find ways to jump aboard, climb through ridiculous encounters, and stick a sword in it. The grab mechanic is huge, all the way to the conclusion, where we realize we are not going to escape. You can try and grab on for as long as you can, or you can accept fate and let go. Regardless, the same outcome occurs, but this subversion of expectations paired with physical gameplay achieves a rare moment in the gaming industry, the full symbiotic relationship between gamer and character. The story itself is beautiful, an emotionally gripping tale that through all the pain and hardships ends with our hero having saved both his love, a newborn kid, and his horse. Few games can span this much emotion out of an empty world with next to little to no dialogue. But Shadow of the Colossus does more with less. Interactive novels at their finest. See, The Witcher 3's compelling narrative is attributed to its richly developed characters, intricate storytelling, and impactful player choice. The game's open world, inspired by the author's novels, feels immersive and alive, with detailed environments, diverse characters, and a complex moral landscape. These elements combine to create a story that resonates with players on a deeply human level, making them invested in the fates of the world unfolding and all the events the characters are finding themselves in. The game is populated with memorable and relatable characters, more human than most games at the time, each with their own motivations and backstories. From Geralt and Yennefer's complex relationship to the nuanced portrayals of some supporting characters like the Bloody Baron, the characters feel real, they're grounded, making the stories compelling. It's an immersive world as well. It's vast and detailed, with a sense of history and depth that few other games achieve. The environments, from bustling cities to desolate landscapes, are brought to life with rich details and a palpable atmosphere. The game's attention to detail is nothing short of magnificent. Not to mention the choices you get in The Witcher 3 have significant consequences, affecting the narrative, character relationships, and even the game's ending, on top of how you can portray the books and even the film series. It creates this tangled sense of agency and investment as players are forced to consider the ramifications in worst-case scenarios a lot of games don't have. The game, it presents a world with shades of gray, where morality is rarely clear-cut. Characters and situations often force players to make difficult choices with no easy answers, reflecting the complexities of real-world moral dilemmas we see today. And of course, the main quest line, it's engaging and well-paced, with a strong narrative, but the side quests, on top of how everything tangles together and intertwines, creates an open-world adventure that is easily at the top of its game. Star Wars was not designed with video games in mind, but man, was the IP built and expanded generously because of it. A wide range of exceptional titles like the Battlefront series, or even those following some iconic legends like Jango Fett or Obi-Wan Kenobi. In comes Knights of the Old Republic, which is by far one of the best Star Wars titles around, and one that perfected the formula for growing alongside the Force. The Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic storyline takes place roughly 4,000 years before the events of the original movies, that is. The game centers around a conflict between the Galactic Republic and a Sith Empire led by Darth Malak, a former Jedi who betrayed the Republic with his master, Darth Revan. The player, as a Republic soldier, must discover the truth about their own past and the source of Malik's power, ultimately deciding the fate of the galaxy. The game features a memorable cast of characters, both major and minor, with well-developed backstories and motivations. Players form close bonds with their companions, and the relationships between each other, including player interactions, significantly impact the story. KOTOR's morality system, it allows players to make choices that not only affect the direction, but leads to either a light or dark side path. These choices not only influence the narrative, but also allow the players' relationships with their companions and the overall outcome of the game to evolve, kind of like the Infamous series we saw in the PS3 lifecycle. The game is known for its plot twists, including a major revelation about our past that alters the course of the story and all of Star Wars lore as we know it. These twists keep players engaged, and it's investing, an unraveling mystery within the galaxy, allowing you to play out that Star Wars fantasy most of us always wanted. It excels at immersing players in the universe with detailed environments, rich dialogue, and a well-realized sense of place on each planet. The game makes you feel like you truly are a part of the Old Republic era. Unlike the movies, KOTOR also delves deeper into the nature of the Force, exploring the Jedi and Sith philosophies, their codes, their motivations, showing it's not always black and white. This exploration adds layers of complexity that the films never truly get into. You can even choose which side of the Force you wish to serve on, which not only dramatically impacts the ending, but offers a dynamic range of powers that would influence titles for decades to come. Now, if that doesn't get you on the spot on this list, I don't know what would. Sometimes the greatest stories lack any dialogue, which we saw with Shadow of the Colossus previously. What follows is a journey, no pun intended, through a beautiful landscape with gameplay loops and ideas foreign yet oddly familiar. The visual storytelling mixed in with the orchestration will pull at every single heartstring, whether through the early hours of a deserted landscape to the penultimate zones atop a blizzard on a mountain. The game itself tells its story through metaphors that are powerful and relatable with what it means to simply live. Those early years as we work to understand a language and how to move. Those moments where you run into a rare buddy and find ways to communicate and have fun, whether through some platforming or races through a jaw-dropping landscape. Those moments where you find the beauty in the unknown and turn the adventure and the fear into whatever you feel it should be. That's life. Yet at the finale, as our bones start to ache and the night draws quick and we look for meaning in the actions we've taken, we are met with a conclusion where everything makes sense. The beauty in our journey is at the forefront, and we pay tribute to all of those whose paths we've crossed. In my mind, this ending holds religious significance as we transcend the human experience and realize all we did was to nurture our spiritual self. There's a lot of ways to break it down, but this game holds a significant place in my heart for its metaphors and essence in healing. In perfecting environmental storytelling through cinematic angles and gameplay loops that not only serve a purpose, but any gamer, regardless of skill level, can pick up and relate to.
An unrepentant criminal, guilty of illegally entering our country on multiple occasions.
The only thing that I'm guilty of is doing your dirty work.
And by way of compensation, we have overlooked your crimes.
Bring it on, because I'm not doing this shit anymore.
What makes you think you have a choice?
What kind of cargo?
Cargo like brain dead, pregnant women.
No one would possibly allow that.
That's why I have to smuggle them in. They make me bring them over from Mexico.
This thing between us. It was a mistake.
No, it was not a mistake.
It was not a mistake.
Hideo is a polarizing madman, but at the same time an absolute genius who could have multiple titles make this list for his emphasis on messing with the player and breaking the fourth wall. Death Stranding was a brilliant new IP in an industry that needed something new. Let me read off to you a general synopsis. You play as Sam Bridges, who is a repatriarch that can't die, that has issues with connecting with people both physically and on an emotional level. He is essentially a UPS delivery guy, a demigod of sorts, who works on connecting the world in the digital age through the chiral network while battling private military and guerrilla organizations who want to bring upon us the last stranding. Oh yeah, so there's these things called beaches, which is essentially the transition between life and death, and BTs, or the ghosts of the dead, are infecting the world of the living, making deliveries an absolute motherfucker. If that sounds remotely interesting or off the wall, then you are in for a treat. Also, all of these cast members in the game, on top of providing exceptional VAs and mocap performances, are all self-aware they are in this game. The action set pieces are bananas. The narrative roller coaster is some of the most original subject matter since the last thing Kojima made. But let me boil down what makes this story one of a kind. It's the openness to utilize tools at your disposal within the Strand system. If I use a ladder or rope, If I use a ladder or rope to climb a mountain here, it will be left for other players to use as well, thus connecting us by a rope. Everything from catapults you can launch yourself into, larger interstate highways that can be constructed and shared to make journeys for those who come after easier, which is also a central theme for these games. Death Stranding 2 perfects the formula about what it means to connect, the pros and cons, the limits to our expansions when we try to go it alone. And there's nothing else quite like it. The emotional story can drain you, but then the humor picks you right back up. Sometimes the mountains can seem too much to handle, but then there's a zipline left by another player to take you through it in seconds. Spending hours on a singular road may be tough and daunting work, but then seeing tens of thousands of players using it to ease their travel makes it all worthwhile. Death Stranding tackles many themes, but its focus on connection is an example of how genres, especially in games, can express concepts in a manner no other medium can.
Part of us that still remains untamed. We must be more than animals in chains. It's a poison that kills. Would you let the wind tell you where to go? If you can brave fate and prove it wrong, so walk away, I'll find you. So far away, I'll lead you to the wonder, to the wonder, to the
I was just a lieutenant back then, doing some wet work. Chernobyl, Christmas for the bad guys. Even a decade later, a lot of them still used it to get their hands on nuclear material. A lot of them, including one, Imran Zakhaev. Of course, we couldn't just let that happen. Cash for spent fuel rods. That's one hell of a recipe for destruction. It was the first time our government had authorized an assassination order since the Second World War. I was under the command of Captain Macmillan.
There's plenty of COD campaigns deserving on this list, but to be fair with the timing of COD 4 Modern Warfare, everything sat in place to jumpstart this series into the fading juggernaut it is today. We see an international conflict play out from multiple perspectives, but this was one of the first AAA Modern Warfare stories in gaming, and the first for the COD series, which focused on timelines back in World War II. The story takes place in the year of 2011, when a radical leader has executed the president of an unnamed country in the Middle East, and an ultranationalist movement ignites a civil war in Russia. The conflicts are seen from the perspectives of a US Marine Force recon sergeant and a British SAS commando, and are set in various locales such as the United Kingdom, Middle East, areas in Iraq, Russia, and Ukraine. This was a heart-pounding action thriller that made players feel they were on the front lines, taking on the world, where every mission felt like it could go south, all the way to a dramatic conclusion that pulls everything over you and makes you look at all the sacrifices in a different light. Let's be real. The main reason this band of likable soldiers makes it this high on the list is in its set pieces. It was still grounded enough to feel insane in a surreal yet believable way, whether it's players being assassinated to the iconic nuke scene where our team goes back in to save a downed pilot, only to see that the bomb team fails to cut the right wires in time, and most notably, all gillied up. This mission alone is still one of the greatest FPS missions ever made. With your commanding officer, you are a duo sniper team tasked with eliminating a target outside Chernobyl. We end up stealthing through guards, sneaking past enemy patrols, and queue up for one shot that can change the course of history.
Too much radiation. We'll have to go around. Follow me and keep low. Get down, now. Easy, lad. There's too many of them. Let them go. Keep a low profile and hold your fire. Strike to anticipate their paths. If you have to maneuver, slow and steady, no quick movements. This place. 50,000 people used to live in the city. Actually, ghost town. Never seen anything like it.
All while being in places the majority of the world will never visit. Blowing up in our face with a heart-throbbing escape scene that sees our captain get injured, and having us carry him to the LZ only to fortify and hold off an onslaught of support in order to escape. All of which is handled with professionalism and not a high degree of curses. Cool, calm, and collected is the name of the game that keeps this narrative grounded, making every gunfight one for the ages that still holds up today, to where you couldn't wait to tell friends at school about just the sick levels you were seeing, which also kickstarted the trend of asking, how wild was the next COD game gonna be? Sometimes the best road trips are the ones where you don't know what's coming next. In comes what is arguably the most difficult entry to rank in the series to choose a single title from. With Resident Evil, you have the Spencer Mansion, the Fall of Raccoon City, but to me, RE4, that is where the story was redefined for a generation, both in third-person mechanics and narrative tones. The real question then becomes, which version is better? The original or the remake? While I had the original here for quite some time, to me it needs to be for the remake, for three main reasons. First, how it evolves certain character arcs like Lewis, Krauser, and so on. Second, how the open world or the labyrinth design evolves with the player over time. And finally, the emphasis on balancing horror with action comedy in a way no other game has accomplished in the series, while grounding the scenarios, keeping the tension high. The beauty in RE4 is the open world approach to its story. A Secret Service member named Leon travels to a rural village in Eastern Europe to find the president's daughter who was kidnapped. We get to play a certified badass, always against the odds, utilizing the environment, and someone that looks like a Backstreet Boy backup. And the black market merchant, who is iconic as can be, to find a way to, well, find a way. Yes, the cast is all likable and leave a lasting impression. For the most part. Yes, the arcs experienced are next level and show a culmination of nearly 40 years of game development from Capcom. Yes, the game never sits in one mode for too long. One moment you're fighting a giant fish monster to battling a chainsaw family, and before you know it, you're raiding castles and storming an oil rig base with a friendly helicopter. Somehow this game's set pieces shouldn't make sense and feel connected, but they do. It works, and as the gamer, there's so much freedom to buy and find the weapons you want, upgrade how you see fit, and create your own stories of survival where no one playthrough will feel exactly the same. But all the moments, it's one of those games where you could point and pick numerous different favorite sections of this title, and I could understand why. See, RE4 Remake gives the player the camera in directing their own cinematic action horror thriller that still beats anything on the big screen to this day. GTA 4 had a story that arguably portrayed the American dream alongside immigration in a way most games only dream to achieve. GTA Vice City perfectly mirrored the feel of money laundering in the 80s. GTA 5 took 3 dynamic protagonists and twisted their stories into one beautiful train wreck. Yet, it's in this Grand Theft Auto that everything came together flawlessly and repositioned open world storytelling in video games. San Andreas was a huge leap for Rockstar in presentation, player agency, and precedent. Our character CJ returns to his old home to see things not like what they were before, with such iconic characters as Big Smoke, Ryder, and of course Tenpenny, played by the Samuel L. Jackson. See, this officer frames CJ, which pushes him down some boys in the hood situations. But soon as rival gangs start beefing on turf, it becomes apparent some of the Grove Street boys don't bleed Grove Street. This game gives players open freedom to explore and do as they will, with a system that allows your player to get skinnier, fatter, more muscular, based on how you treat yourself, as you have skills you upgrade to get better at over the runtime. You can improve skills like swimming and popping caps simply by doing them. You can buy out properties, team up with a blind assassin CEO martial artist to rob banks, rekindle your relationship with family, dance the night away, go on dates, do good jobs, do awful jobs, build up friendships, rob homes, and I mean, for the time, this was expansive. The story itself took you through Grove Street, downtown, the rural rest, Area 51. Like, this game gave no fucks. You literally bust into quote-unquote Area 51 and get a jetpack in one mission. Why? Because video games. Easter eggs galore, spawning numerous machinimas like the search for serial killers in the world and even Bigfoot, taking it a step forward as the modding community alongside machinima in its prime created some amazing short fan-made films using only game code, which is beyond incredible. Like, these were intense. The world felt alive in ways Grand Theft Auto and other open world titles didn't before, setting a precedent for decades to follow. GTA San Andreas was the game every kid talked about at recess, and it's one still fun revisiting today, in which you can even see all of its details and ideas and principles still in GTA 5, heck, even in the GTA 6 trailers. The legacy of San Andreas is that critical. Deus Ex is considered to have one of the greatest stories in gaming, due to its rich, branching narrative, complex characters, and its exploration of real-world themes and philosophical ideas. The game's immersive sim elements allows players to shape the story through their choices, leading to a unique and personalized experience with multiple debated endings. Furthermore, the game's world building, attention to detail, and use of conspiracy theories and real-world lore create a compelling and thought-provoking experience. Branching narratives and player choice within Deus Ex is renowned for the complex narrative structure that reacts to player choices. Unlike many games where the story progresses in a linear fashion, Deus Ex allows players to make significant choices that impact the plot, characters, and even the ending through gameplay and narrative or dialogue choices. This level of agency, it contributes to a high degree of replayability, as there are so many different paths. You use the mechanics the game gives you, and there's nearly no limitations. If you think you can do it, odds are you can probably do it. The game is richly detailed with a believable near-future setting influenced by real-world conspiracy theories, historical mythologies, and concepts of the philosophical sense. Every corner of the game world, from the smallest details in the environment to the interactions with NPCs, feels carefully crafted and contributes to that immersion. The Deus Ex titles, especially the first one, tackle complex themes as the ethics of transhumanism, the dangers of unchecked power, and the nature of truth and control. It's a spy thriller that really gets the best out of spy thriller tales. It doesn't shy away from exploring controversial ideas and presenting them in a nuanced way for you to feel how you will. The characters are memorable as can be, with distinct personalities and motivations. At this time, and I feel like I've said that a lot, and you're going to hear it quite a bit more, games weren't executing on this degree. The dialogue itself is intelligent, it's engaging, it prompts players to think critically about the situations and even give you the ability to predict future betrayals and things of that caliber. It, as a game, had such a significant influence on design, particularly in the realm of immersive sims, and games that prioritize, games that prioritize player choice and narrative depth. Many subsequent games have sought to emulate the blend of action, role-playing, and stealth elements that Deus Ex popularized. There's a reason why if you mention immersive sims as a genre for video games, Deus Ex is the first one that comes up. I mean, it is set in 2052, it's a dystopian cyberpunk future beset by terrorist attacks, economic inequality, and the plague dubbed the Great Death. Just submit Great Death, transfer that out, and put COVID in, and you basically have America as we see fit today. Your player character, JC Denton, is an anti-terrorism agent who's deployed when terrorist group interrupts supplies of a rare Grey Death vaccine. You investigate the incident, and then you get involved in this complex struggle between factions for world control. It's mind-blowing, it's fun, it's engaging, and you always feel like everything you do will change some aspect of the story. Whether it's using your vent to sneak up on a conversation and hear what friend A has to say behind your ears, or confronting friend A during your mission and just talking to him straight up. The type of information you get will be so sporadically different that it makes every aspect of the spy thriller engaging, memorable, and dare I say, genre defining. There comes a time when every man's journey that their own mortality comes into play. What they were and the heroes they looked up to need to be reevaluated in the grand scope of things. Uncharted 4 was hit with a messy development cycle, but upon release capped off a series of games that made the PS3 what it was. Nathan Drake was the video game version of Indiana Jones in all of the best ways, especially with the send-off on PS4, with the games paying homage to that series, The Mummy and countless more. A lighthearted yet surreal take through a story filled to the brim with deceit, charm, loss, beauty, and self-reflection. It is the perfect treasure hunting tale with some jaw-dropping moments that still look better than 95% of what comes out today. It's popcorn flick that is one of those titles, if you turn the HUD off in many cases, you will feel like you're playing a movie, you are watching a movie. I have actually convinced people by turning the HUD off that this was a cinematic film. The combat is juicy, and this extensive journey with Nathan meets a beautiful conclusion that'll not only hit fans in their heartstrings, but connects to the legacy of Naughty Dog as a developer, one that they had had within the industry for decades. Whether it's open world exploration for treasure bits, driving through rural Latin countries, attending a billionaire party undercover, and getting lost within the character of it all. Uncharted 4 is the perfect example of a series ending on a high note, and the joy video games can have even when giving life lessons fitting for us as people. The connection, the characters, everything always came together in arguably one of the greatest titles Naughty Dog has ever made.
For those who prove worthy, paradise awaits.
Took a long time for him to get out of this game.
He's meant for this life.
Oh, crap!
Last I checked, we're all a bunch of thieves, digging around where we shouldn't.
Shame we're not on the same side.
I am a man of fortune, and I must seek my fortune. So, are you ready to seek your fortune?
Hang on, Nathan! Where is the artifact?
Heads up!
I made a promise that I was done with this life.
How long have we been chasing this thing?
Long time.
Real long time. Just you and me. No offense to these guys, but they don't get it.
If you're done lying to me, then you should stop lying to yourself.
The biggest pirate treasure of all time is within our grasp.
Look, Nate, I'm gonna make you a one-time offer. Drop everything. Go home. Live your life. Or we can just end it right here.
There's gotta be another way. I need you on this one.
You ever wonder, like, different choices, how we might have ended up?
No. I like the hand we've been dealt.
Being on the job, no one is more deserving of a rest, and all the effort in the world would have gone to waste until, well, let's just say your hour has come again.
Valve nowadays is known for the billions they generate through Steam, but back in the day they were the pioneer in the community with an idea for an FPS that will not only go down as one of the greatest sci-fi thrillers in gaming, but eventually lead to the foundation for the Orange Box and Steam as we know it today. In this game, Half-Life 2, the enigmatic G-Man reawakens Gordon Freeman from stasis and places him in City 17, a dystopian metropolis under the control of the Combine, a trans-dimensional alien empire built for video games. Gordon joins the Resistance led by Alex Vance and her father Eli to fight against the Combine and their human administrator Dr. Breen, who serves as a puppet ruler of sorts. The game follows Gordon's journey through City 17 and beyond as he confronts the Combine's forces, explores dangerous environments like Ravenholm, and ultimately confronts the Citadel headquarters in a grand revolution for the future of humanity. The factions are engaging, and in summary, this game is one long road trip through the countryside with countless memorable encounters. Where many games of this era utilize cutscenes for cinematic effect, Half-Life 2 makes it a point similar to Dead Space, where control is rarely taken away from the player, and when it is, it's for bombshell moments. Moments like leading a recon team through a destroyed city, escaping the Combine in a water boat, crossing a bridge over the ocean with beams barely wide enough to hold us, and of course, the iconic Ravenholm. This level sticks out the most and symbolizes everything the story does right in terms of a game. You have grandiose puzzles that make you invest in environmental details like using car traps to get onto rooftops and avoid the headcrab zombies. A wide variety of tools at your disposal, like the gravity gun, which can turn anything into a weapon. some of the most engaging NPCs in the industry, like Father Grigori, who, with his short runtime, leaves a lasting impression and shows the impact of the town on an innocent pastor who chose to stay behind in this forgotten city. This is a road trip that finds ways to keep the gameplay unique by mixing up what you do almost every 30 minutes. The scenes that play out occur in real time, further immersing us as Dr. Freeman. Most importantly, this game never breaks its show, don't tell mentality once the intro ends. You are left to interact with the world how you will. Those underground sand lines, you cross them yourself. Those combine soldiers chasing you, you gotta find your own way out. Those open road events where your vehicle turns over, find a way to get it back up. The game trusts you as a player, and its open-ended design is legendary, which allows us to ask their own questions in the world and fight to uncover its hidden truths. That's game design at its finest, asking more from the player beyond simple button inputs. The suicide mission. This phrase alone echoes through millions of years in the gaming community. Mass Effect is what would happen if you took the gameplay style of Ghost Recon, mixed in with the soap opera nature of The Walking Dead, BioWare's old school RPG madness, and an expansive set of planets to explore in order to prevent the destruction of all life. Build upon the decisions of the first game, you are immediately killed off and brought back to life by a rich gazillionaire who tasks you with aiding in his quest to prevent extinction with this Reaper threat. It's a great setup and gives us as a player the ability to form alliances that we see fit, making decision after decision that will carry significant weight into the third entry. Everyone on your team can live or die based on your choices. Every single person in life is at stake. All of which build up to the suicide mission. See, a lot of decision-based games at the time were more black and white with their outcomes. Oh, give Fred an apple, he'll be nice, and return the favor when you are in trouble. In this entry, though, it goes beyond opinions and the overall morale of the crew. The skills also come into play. Maybe this homie loves you, so you bring him on your base crew to open some locked doors. Unfortunately, if they are low on their engineering skills, one quick headshot, and they are down for the count. It's funny because in hindsight, a lot of these choices feel like common sense, especially since the remaster version of the game, almost 98% of players completed this end level without losing a single crew member. But back then, all the talk of who did or did not make it in your friends' games made the penultimate to Mass Effect 2 all the sweeter. It's a powerful game with numerous threads from 1 that go into 3, further elevating all your choices in dialogue and resource management. Nothing like this at the time existed in gaming. Shepard's journey is a difficult one where you make decisions against your better judgment. But in a trilogy as impactful as Mass Effect, we cannot ask for anything more. The dawn of the Telltale narrative, which won over 100 Game of the Year awards and featured a wild take on episodic gaming, bringing it back to the forefront. We had 5 episodes over the course of a season, which meant you would have 2 to 3 months between to discuss with friends, go online, and watch us YouTubers debate what may happen with predictions, and replay each episode to see what other hidden dialogue options and scenes you could get. This format was a powerful tool that came at the perfect time alongside the show on AMC, and in many ways was kindling that sparked a revolution with The Talking Dead and spin-offs galore. But let's get back to what makes this game's story so memorable. We play as Lee Everett, who is a university professor sentenced for killing a state senator who had an affair with his wife. On our way in, the back of a cop car, an accident occurs with a zombie in the road, and soon we run into a girl by the name of Clementine, who was separated by her family. What follows is our story of survival and redemption, bonding together with a wide cast of characters who still ring in the back of my head. Lily, Kenny, Ben. It's hard to forget the roles they all play. Most importantly, this episodic adventure gives us the ability to make decisions yet again, which, given the release format, left plenty of interpretation up to fans regarding which option was the right one. Should Lee have taken the supplies out of the car with Clementine while she was there? Or should they have kept going? Should we have saved this character or this one when shit hit the fan? The decisions don't necessarily change the ending, but that plays into a central theme of the game. Fate and how uncontrollable it can be at times, even unfair. Yet through all the trials and difficult situations between who should eat, who to watch over, it all comes to protecting Clementine by any means necessary. As a famous IGN reviewer once said, "I will do everything to protect her." Some of the decisions still resonate in my head as a gamer, and the story of this group of survivors is unforgettable. I replayed a lot of the games on this list for this list specifically, and when I replayed Season 1 of The Walking Dead, I found myself equally as invested as I was all those years ago. The writing, the design, the world building, it all still holds up incredibly well, especially with the mantra of how this game dictates its character relationships. You never know when the last time is the last time. Match that with fan involvement that was innovative for this period of gaming, and what you have is a bittersweet tale over the power of love and compassion in the darkest of times, and what can transpire if not left in check alongside the fear of the unknown. A crash in the mid-Atlantic, a city framed under the ocean through the eyes of one man's disjointed philosophy, and an epidemic that can reach the surface if we aren't careful. BioShock on its release was unlike anything in the industry at the time, with its focus on a show-don't-tell approach to storytelling in a city infected with splicers, drug addicts, and big daddies, little ones that harness the slug called Adam from its hosts, and its immersive horror done right. The beauty and reason this game still stands the test of time lies within its well-crafted and executed twist that both is a shot at the gaming industry as a whole alongside recontextualizing why we are in Rapture to begin with. Yes, the world building is immaculate. I mean, this game has a sense of scale beyond the linear corridors you spend the entire time in. The sound design, giving the feel of claustrophobia under the sea with hideous creatures always around you, and the VA rivals that of high-end blockbusters combined with a silent protagonist that allows players the time to digest such philosophical questions. Cue Andrew Ryan's quotes. You see the science of bringing trees to life under the sea, the magic of ghosts splicing their DNA to become invisible, and the burdens being isolated from the world has on those who chose to escape the 1960s as we knew it. Followed with that twist we have to talk about. This scene was the gut punch that hit harder than anything heavily towards game design in the late 2000s.
The assassin has overcome my final defense, and now he's come to murder me. In the end, what separates a man from a slave? Money? Power? No. A man chooses. slave obeys. You think you have memories. A farm, a family, an airplane, a crash, and then this place. Was there really a family? Did that airplane crash? Or was it hijacked? Forced down. Forced down by something less than a man, something bred to sleepwalk through life until they are activated by a simple phrase spoken by their kindly master. Was a man sent to kill, or a slave? A man chooses. A slave obeys. Come in. Stop. Would you kindly? Powerful phrase. Familiar phrase.
Would you kindly? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
Sit. Would you kindly? Stand. Would you kindly? Run. Stop. Turn. A man chooses. A slave obeys. Kill! A man chooses! A slave obeys! Obey!
This scene was the gut punch that hit harder than anything before. The fact that we were manipulated the entire time so openly without realizing it was insanity, but spoke heavily towards game design in the late 2000s. So often games were forcing players with confined objectives and gave little room to allow the player to experiment or discover their own ways around objectives. This twist, alongside Andrew's entire philosophy, challenges the norm of game design at the time. It's a story that is on the Mount Rushmore of twists in gaming, which is icing on the cake for a world that is beautiful to explore. Since so much occurred before we get there, a lot of the game is reimagining through the debris and parts still operating to piece together what actually happened, telling a story in ways only gamers can when we are given the tools to craft it ourselves, or so we think.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead, the Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten.
The Souls franchise has gone on quite a journey over the past 2 decades. Back in the early 2000s, you had Demon Souls, which had a cult following but couldn't break mainstream numbers. In come Dark Souls, which solved an industry problem. Titles around this time were way too easy, oversaturation of first-person shooters, and in comes this unapologetically difficult third-person RPG that emphasized its difficulty in a world that would break you down. Even the trailers with the silent Bartholomew broke into this. The gaming community banded together over streams to help with builds, co-op runs with invasions, and much more with all of the hidden secrets you could ask for. Yes, it was a commercial success, even giving the design philosophy of Zelda titles a run for its money. But the way this game carves its story is incredible. Playing as a lonesome prisoner, you are freed from a cell and escape into the land of Lordran with next to no support on where to go. Cryptic messages, and a Zelda-like approach to how you can explore the world. Head to the catacombs and get wrecked, or the sunken city and get wrecked, or head up into the abandoned city and get scorched by a ginormous dragon. The world does not explain itself to you, and when making the game, lead director Miyazaki took his time learning English as a tool. See, when studying a broken language, there are bits you may comprehend, and in many cases your mind attempts to mold in the blanks. With item descriptions and environmental details, we get some dots that are left up to us and the community to connect, meaning that the ideas and principles and what actually happens in the game has room for interpretation. The gameplay also ties into the world. For example, there's this plague known as the Dark Sign that reincarnates people from the ashes of bonfires, meaning people decay away without being able to fully die until they lose their sanity. These bonfires are checkpoints in the world. Every single element and design has a reason. Why is this giant dragon boss blind? Why does this ancient city turn dark when I snipe a giant with big assets? Why does Onion Bro sleep everywhere? It all connects in a way that made dozens a playthrough a joy, as we truly feel like adventurers in a foreign land connecting details and making our own realizations about the world. I mean, the secrets and abilities are insane. I went years through this game before realizing there wasn't even a ring you could get from a ninja that allowed you to do backflips. It was 2 years after release that I even realized this underwater realm filled with trees was even a place you could go. There are secrets beyond secrets, and the game doesn't care if you experience it, which makes it all the more memorable. Not to mention, the game uses scale in such a way to emphasize your traversal. You spend 6 to 8 hours up a massive hill only to be able to look down at other areas you have been or will go to, or vice versa. At the start, you can witness the next area in your journey. No maps, no excessive HUD, no over-explanation, just the player, game mechanics, and some vague comments within the world and dialogue for us to decipher, all which is recontextualized with the endgame realization of the state of the world and our role in it that we chose to inherit, for better and for worse.
With the strength of lords, they challenge the dragons. Gwyn's mighty lords peeled apart their stone skills. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath the Scaleless betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers, and man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side.
A game that is more meta than fan service, more experimental than formulaic, and more wow factor than anyone could have imagined. A title that took 13 years to get off of the ground, Alan Wake 2 sees Remedy's first shot at survival horror, and what a lasting impact it was. We have two stories that we can jump from at any time in the timeline that we experience. Alan Wake, a struggling writer, is trapped in the Dark Place, an alternate world where fiction manifests itself, and aims to use his writing to escape. On the other hand, we have Saga Anderson, an FBI investigator who is working to uncover a series of cultist murders happening in the same town Alan Wake himself vanished. The beauty in this story, beyond its wacky Twin Peaks nature, extended lists of fascinating characters, the open world approach to two wildly different playstyles, and areas of exploration, it's in the live action sections. This title merges both in-game graphics with live action cutscenes in a way no other game has done before, blurring the lines of reality. The entire artistic approach to this game mirrors the works of David Lynch, and this feature is not only interesting with live TV moments and overlays where both realities merge together into one, but in the disorientating nature within the other world, making us as the player question the extent of what is real and an illusion. See, Alan's writing in the first game would come true, and in most cases beyond his control. Now in the sequel, this idea is magnified to 11 with a brilliant detective mystery that has a revelation that has stayed with me nearly 2 years after completing. Then there's the amazing trick where we get to harness the power of a magical light that allows us to morph reality in front of us in real time. Still an incredible gameplay feature within the story that I have not seen any other game master or replicate to this degree. The combat and gameplay mirror the nature of our protagonists, and the story itself can be revisited and pieced together in so many ways that makes it the perfect water cooler conversation at work. Alan Wake 2 is a testament to indie writing in the gaming medium, a title with a large budget showing what this industry can accomplish. The 13-year wait wore on Alan and us as fans, but this is one of those experiences you cannot get anywhere else. Now that is gaming with a purpose. It starts with a letter and ends with the greatest survival horror story ever written in video game format. Anyone who has followed me on this channel knows that I absolutely adore Silent Hill 2, let alone the remake. It subverts our knowledge of the first game and introduces James, a man who travels to the town after receiving a letter from his wife asking him to meet her in their special place. Problem is, she died 3 years ago. What follows is an engrossing journey through the town itself as James combats hideous creatures, thought-provoking puzzles, and meets with other souls all being drawn to the town for different reasons. Their connections and revelations over the course of the game keep you glued to your seat, especially the locales that are all decayed yet oddly beautiful. A calming sense is felt in the terror which is elevated by the story's presentation, and the VA, which in both original and remake are quite exceptional in their own ways. What truly sets this one home is the subtle cues throughout the adventure to the reality of the situation. Games at the time did not dive into such difficult subject matter. It paved the way for how games could tackle things like mental illness while respecting what people who experience such tragedies go through. The symbolism is tenfold, and a lot of the game leaves the journey up to the players to piece together. Better yet, are the numerous endings that judge the player based on how they played the game, meaning it's an organic take on James's own subconscious that we the players serve as. You don't know the first time this happens, and the game is all the more for it. It's a timeless title, and the remake only perfected the formula in ways games for decades have still been unable to replicate. The original may have set the standard for horror gaming, but the sequel elevated what it means to experience a story within the gaming medium, being in the shoes of our protagonist, nearly 25 years later, and still the peak psychological horror experience. There are stories in games that connect us. There are tales that go beyond the screen and give us a lesson. And then there's the story around the game's development and release that coincide in this magical experience known as Halo 3. A once-in-a-lifetime tale we more than likely will never see again. YouTube was still in its infancy years, and with such an insane cliffhanger in the second game, Halo 3 released to the masses and had us finish the fight as Master Chief, the poster child for the Xbox 360. This game's release date was borderline biblical in the gaming community, and I am not joking. Look at some of these shots.
This is the Super Suck Lord out here on the corner of 44th and 5th Avenue here in New York City for the midnight release of Halo 3. And we're getting a little crazy out here. There's a lot of community, a lot of fans, and a lot of good feelings. A lot of people coming out here, meeting and greeting and, sharing their love of Halo and Halo 3. Is this the best video game in the world?
Definitely it is.
Halo. So let me tell you, Halo 3.
Sum it up for us.
Amazing.
It's exhilarating, man. It's an experience. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. I bought Halo as soon as it came out, man. I was hooked. Halo 3.
What's going on? How long have you guys been standing out here for?
5 o'clock. 5 p.m. 5 p.m.
Today?
Yeah, we got lucky. We didn't have to get here too early.
That's it?
You come here for the experience. This is like, my father went to Woodstock. This is our Woodstock of a generation.
Now we are about to make history. Everyone here tonight will join Halo fans all over the world to make the launch of Halo 3 the biggest day in entertainment history. I want to thank all of the people who are standing outside of the store tonight. We're going to be the first Halo fans in the world to experience the end of Master Chief's legendary fight.
Is this the new entertainment, as they say? I mean, is this the future of the blending between the story, a movie, and gameplay, and just the online community? I mean, is it all melting together?
Well, I think it's a great example of what's possible. Halo is not for everybody as much as I'd like to believe it is. It is a first-person shooter, so you've got to be a gamer to really get the most out of it. But I think Bungie does a great job of marrying all of those elements so that a broader fan base love Halo. And that's really a great example of what's going to be possible in the future as we tell different stories.
Pretty awesome. I gotta go get my game on.
It's all worth it.
We had news outlets live covering the countdown to Halo 3 across the entire United States. Bill Gates himself handed off the very first copy of Halo 3 signed. NASDAQ hosted a live opening event in New York City. NASDAQ. Motherfucking NASDAQ. This was a story that not only saw one of the greatest FPS protagonists of all time end a brutal war, but it saw millions of gamers unifying in a way out in the public that you will never see again. I remember my friend Ron back in the day. He had an Xbox 360, but he couldn't get Halo 3. I didn't have an Xbox 360, but I was able to get Halo 3, even though I didn't have the console, and we would share the game and the console together in unison. The story itself for the game, it holds strong as you and up to 3 friends fought on the front lines against numerous alien life forms to reunite with a corrupted friend and put an end to the brutality and the violence, excluding all the sequels, but I digress. Halo 3 was marked as the end of an amazing trilogy that brought the Xbox to the forefront of the gaming community, and its OST brings home how far gamers went to see this war to the conclusion, no matter the cost. This was arguably the largest pre-launch event in history, and sometimes the setup leading up to the climax is the absolute best part. This is one of those experiences that will never be replicated ever again to this degree. In Baldur's Gate 3, the plot revolves around a group of adventurers who are abducted by mind flayers and infected with mind-controlling tadpoles that threaten to transform them into mind flayers themselves. The game focuses on their struggle to find a cure, make choices that affect their relationships and the world around them, and ultimately decide the fate of the Forgotten Realms. Now you may be saying, Cookies, that sounds pretty straightforward. We're in the top 10 stories of all time, right? What's the catch? Well, we've mentioned topics like player agency, player choice, branching paths, and more throughout this video. Well, Baldur's Gate 3 has the most dynamic set of systems to read player inputs that have ever been in a game, taking into account every single decision you make, no matter how major or minor. Say, for example, early on you find a corpse on the ground with a necklace that gives plus 20 stamina. You could take it to wear it, but then say you encounter an ally down the road who recognizes that same necklace and refutes that religious practice it's tied to. That'll lower your morale with them, and they will make comments. That same necklace was on the neck of someone's brother who recognizes it, and now this potential aid for resources in a market may paint you as a murderer in the town, and now no one trusts you. This isn't a major narrative moment. This is a small chance encounter in a sea of hundreds of thousands of optional choices the game will calculate in real time. Every dialogue option, interactable object, NPC, and etc. from the very beginning will balloon into dramatically different conclusions for each player. That makes Baldur's Gate one of the most iconic titles in the genre. It's also co-op without breaking the immersion, which is simply icing on the cake. The world itself is beautifully expansive and an easy multi-100-hour time sink. All of the acting is up there with some of the best series online, but even more so, your decisions always feel coherent. There is continuity with every action you take, which most games simply struggle with, let alone games with this magnitude of content. The world operates around you, making it the ultimate character as we morph our own way through it. I have talked to about a dozen other friends, and all of us had dramatically different stories that in most cases didn't even seem like possibilities. Baldur's Gate 3 is a once-in-a-lifetime experience that has enough gameplay and stories to last years. Chrono Trigger. It's a compelling time travel narrative. Its time travel element is more than just a gimmick. It's essential to the plot and world building. Players experience the consequences of their actions in different eras across time, witnessing how the world evolves and manifests from decisions made. The game explores the complexities of time travel, including the potential for paradoxes and the impact of choices on a singular timeline. All the characters you meet have these unique personalities, backstories, motivations, making them relatable, engaging, and unlike anything seen before on the SNES. The characters' relationships and interactions with each other are well developed, adding depth to the narrative. Friends becomes enemies, enemies become friends, and all of this expands dramatically over the course of the game's runtime. Your party customization encourages experimentation with different characters. You have full-on bosses that you'll be chasing for 20-30 hours that can ultimately become members in your party. The battle system aids the narrative storytelling with how dynamic and engaging the turn-based motivations are, with positional attacks and combo techniques, allowing the player to craft their own stories. The ability to see enemies on the map and potentially avoid encounters and stealth, it adds a layer of strategy and choice, player agency at its fullest, which we hadn't seen before in this era of gaming. Its entire structure, including the introduction of New Game Plus to re-experience story elements and shape them differently, enhancing replayability and allowing players to, explore those different endings and character interactions. While presented as a light-hearted adventure, Chrono Trigger, it delves into deeper themes such as the nature of time, the consequences of technological advancements, and the relationship between humanity and the environment. The game, it encourages players to consider these impacts alongside their actions and the potential for both progress and destruction. It's a masterful combination of elements, seamlessly blending the narrative into all aspects of the gameplay is what makes Chrono Trigger one of the grandest experiences and stories of all time. The game, it avoids many common JRPG tropes, offering a fresh and engaging experience even for players unfamiliar with the genre. Its quality and scope cannot be stated enough. The fact we haven't gotten a remake yet blows my mind because Chrono Trigger, still to this day, is one of the most expansive, all-engrossing narratives you can ever play. And this was done on a 16-bit console. Few writers can make a list twice, but Hideo Kojima could with nearly every title he writes. As a gaming creator, he has always been ahead of the industry, and you could argue any title of his for this spot. Personally, Metal Gear Solid 3 felt to be the peak of the series and perfected the nature of tactical espionage action, or T for short. A prequel to the first entry, Snake Eater subverts expectations of undercover ops tales with our lead, who ends up having to track down his former mentor, who defected from the US during the implications of the Cold War and dissolution of the USSR. You go from dense jungles to open desert landscapes and funnel through behind enemy lines, disrupting food shelters, disguising oneself as an alligator, and much more. The game offers tools to create your own journey, and in the remake, all damage on your person is permanent, further expressing the tale you went through to get to the other side. The presentation is unlike much else at the time, and the tale of the Big Boss origin story melds together with Kojima's wackiness and the people you end up fighting. From the fear to the fury, and even the old one, who you can beat in the wildest ways. You can literally change your console's game clock to fast forward until this legendary sniper dies of old age, or take him on 1v1 in a sniper contest, or even take a crack shot earlier on in the game to skip the fight entirely. Metal Gear Solid 3 is full of these moments, like going undercover in a missile base to meeting the end, who uses all the enemies you killed on your journey against you. The game's wacky supervillains juxtapose the surreal nature of our journey alongside the realistic threat of a Cold War gone hot. It's magic and lightning in a bottle. A lot of people will give Kojima a little bit of flack because yes, some of his writing can get a little out there and over the top, but this wacky nature in this game of these Avenger-style villains, it sits so well giving the context of the Cold War. The Cold War balances Kojima out as much as Kojima balances the Cold War, crafting a narrative that subverts all expectations of a James Bond thriller in a way no other game has ever even come close to targeting. This title has a lot to say about soldiers on the battlefield, and is arguably the greatest war story ever told in a video game. For you may survive what was, but it won't prevent the changes to come, the fluidity of how allies can become enemies and vice versa. And to what point does the legacy trump the acts committed?
So is that everything you hoped for?
The Last of Us is a tale of two halves, a first entry that revolutionized single-player adventure titles, and a second that will have two halves at a war to the end of time over its controversial direction. While I'd love to chat about that, it's hard to argue the first title is cemented in the history of gamers everywhere. What starts as a fundamental quest of transporting a child across the US in hopes of developing a cure for a virus that's destroyed society quickly becomes a reflection of our two main characters. Joel, a father who has lost his kid early on and becoming a shell of his former self, and Ellie, an orphan who is immune to the infection. The reason the story works so well beyond the cinematic presentation is how the game handles the change in their relationship over time. During their road trip, they meet some interesting folk that also offer reflections of themselves. Bill, who isolates himself in a town rigged with booby traps. Hank and Fred, who are brothers trying to survive by any means necessary. Tommy, who did some brutal things with Joel in the name of survival, as he now works to rebuild civilization, and a few more I won't spoil. At the start, this is nothing more than a job for Joel, who is a shell of his former self, but through the time, their connection strengthens and soon she becomes more so a daughter for him. The combat is brutal and gory, which at the beginning of the game is always for the player's survival, but it evolves over the course of the game's runtime to keep Ellie alive and soon becomes a necessary tool for us to protect someone we care for. It's brilliant game design that can't be told in any other medium. Season 1 of the show was greatest hits that understands why the story worked, but playing the game physically elevates the elements of the tale and the people we fight alongside in a manner less than a handful of games have been able to recreate. The decayed world is beautiful to explore, the moment-to-moment traversal is daunting, and this road trip becomes a timeless journey which plays as smooth as it did nearly 15 years ago. Anyone who grew up in the 90s or has ventured into an N64 knows this song all too well. Ocarina of Time was the first fully 3D Zelda world and another glaring example of perfecting the formula the first time around. It captures the stages of the hero's journey in a way that still holds up today despite the limited polygons. The heart of this tale has stood the test of time unlike any adventurer that has come before. A young boy who is on the outskirts of a village in the forest gets a quest from the great giant Deku tree prior to its death to journey towards Hyrule Castle in search of the princess who is in danger from an evil prince by the name of Ganondorf. While the entry levels of the journey's tutorial are cute and calm minus the giant spider inside the tree, soon it takes a dark turn as the reality of our journey throws us out into Hyrule Field, fully exploring an open world with minimal direction and secrets galore. This was a massive achievement at the time, and one that lends itself to an abundance of talks with friends. Did you discover the hidden boulder you could blow up in Goron Village? How about the hidden fish monster trick that allows you the ability to go inside to save the Princess of Zora's domain? Or all of the hidden caves you can explore with zombies galore littering the landscape? The journey blends all sorts of emotions and themes that are easily missed in one, let alone 5 playthroughs, all centered around the concept of life and what it means to live. Then there's the kicker. Once you reassemble pieces of the Triforce and go for the gold wielding the legendary Master Sword, something strange happens. You awaken in adult form, surrounded by destruction, death, and chaos. Innocent townsfolk now zombified, and Ganondorf having successfully taken over Hyrule Kingdom. This dramatic shift mirrors something Harry Potter as a series does so well, that transition from your childhood to adulthood, with the tones that manifest in between. It's a wild transition, and now the game challenges your knowledge of the world you gained early on as you track down all of these sages' powers that can ultimately come together as a force strong enough to end Ganon's reign. But wait, there's more. You can now travel back and forth between your young and adult age by placing the Master Sword back in its place. By doing this, we can utilize 2 time periods in order to solve puzzles we could not before, and see other sides of people from both your younger years and as you've grown older. This storytelling is never ham-fisted, and more so left for the player to uncover which is the magic in this game's world even decades later. It's all up to the player. Thus, player agency has a weight to it that makes every step forward an adventure. Every hut with dozens of secrets to discover as we find tools both young and new to manipulate the world around as we see it. Creating time paradoxes, and the list goes on. Having 2 lenses to see the world gives added weight to every interaction, and turns this tongue-in-cheek adventure into a 100+ hour tale about the childhood and adulthood, memory and nostalgia, and the impacts of time on both individuals and the world. The game uses Link's journey through time to represent the complexities of growing up and the changes it brings. The game also delves into how memory and nostalgia shape our perception of the past, and how these rose-tinted glasses and feelings can be both comforting and potentially hindering to the grander picture. Furthermore, the game suggests that maturity, while necessary, can also be seen as an antagonistic force that alters the familiar and beloved. Ocarina of Time is an adventure unlike anything else, which you will not fully grasp until you understand all the themes and your younger self wants to portray, as well as your older self. It's often set as the precedent of narrative adventures in gaming, and for decades to follow. Ocarina of Time is a masterpiece. For anyone who knows this song, this alone makes this title earn its place on the list. Red Dead Redemption 2 was a game I did not play at release, as while the first one had an incredible narrative, the moment-to-moment experience didn't quite grab me as intended. I knew the ending of 2, and yet I did eventually play it. Despite knowing major story beats, this end scene broke me as a man, and like millions of others, cements Arthur Morgan as arguably the greatest protagonist in gaming. This title places a heavy emphasis on surrealism during the end of the Western trends in America. Cities continued to grow, local governments prosper, and the story of being a gang member robbing banks and towns, that mirage began to die. This story focuses on one of the last known outlaw groups in the Wild West, while putting some direct metaphors to the forced relocation of Cherokees during this era. A sound narrative with an emotionally evolving cast that go through significant changes over the game's runtime, mixed in with some jaw-dropping set pieces that have you reevaluate some of the game's themes of fate, complexities to morality, the ability to find or carve a path within a group at the cost of one's own identity, and more. Red Dead Redemption 2's story is celebrated for its depth, emotional impact, and character development, particularly the compelling portrayal of Arthur Morgan and the Vanderlyn gang's descent into anarchy, as they all slowly start pulling away from that central idea they were all chasing to begin with, led by Dutch. It is a slow burn that will make you reflect on your own life, further enhanced by the changes in real time you see. Both during the main game and epilogue, you will see the world evolve as more industrialization comes in, and groups change locations alongside subtle quirks in their dialect and conversations. It's a masterclass in detail and storytelling that does not let you go even after the credits roll. With, again, that epilogue itself, it could have been its own game. Better yet, you have a nearly flawless tale that knows it's a prequel, and somehow lands every beat while respecting what is to come. On top of a morality system that allows you to carve out your own Arthur Morgan, where bounties can be placed on you, and even NPCs will remember things you do dozens of hours down the open road, sometimes with revelations that take you by surprise. All of this sounds good, but then you throw into it the massive twist, where Arthur succumbs to TB, off an act of harm he causes an innocent man who owes the gang money, with subtle nods to his illness and random coughs between missions, which at first seem harmless. It's a deafening moment that has you look at the world around you in a different manner. We knew prior to this game beginning that Arthur did die. We didn't know how, and this revelation that it was just a natural illness which took away really kind of puts you into perspective of Arthur and what he does with the time he has left, knowing he didn't always agree with decisions he made for the gang back prior. What happens when your time is coming? And what do you make of the life you fought for? It's a title all about transitions and new beginnings. It allows the player to fully invest themselves in Arthur, his allies, and his adversaries, in a manner that makes the conclusion one of the most empowering, yet heartbreaking moments ever conceived in a video game. That's simply the way it is.
The many miles we walk, the many things we learn, the building of a shrine, only just to burn. That's the way it is. That's the way it is.
There's a good man within you, but he is wrestling with a giant.
Really sorry for your son. It's a hell of a thing.
Our time is pretty much past.
May the wind be at your back, good fortune touch your hand, may the cards lay out straight, all from your command. That's the way it is. That's the way it is.
You saved my life. You're a good man.
kindness in this world, that's for sure.
Maybe it's a sign, Arthur. Try to do the good thing.
Shine light into darkness. Shine light into darkness.
When choosing this list, oddly enough, the top 10 stories were not all too difficult to chat about. I was asking everyone from friends, fans of the show, family, heck, even randoms online before I no-scoped them to Kingdom Come. And 99.999999999% of the time, this title immediately came up as the top choice. In most cases, people have an entry in the top 10 that is universally agreed upon. During the PlayStation 1 era, there was one title that laid the groundwork for cinematic storytelling in games for decades to come. With a large scope across multiple CDs, expansive worlds filled to the brim with player choice, deeply customizable skill sets, decisions, an ever-changing war and landscape, plus the ultimate bang for your buck at a time in gaming that not only sold consoles like hotcakes, but has not been topped since. Final Fantasy VII is considered by many to have the greatest story in a video game due to its compelling characters, well-developed plot, and exploration of mature themes that were decades ahead of the industry. The game masterfully blends fantasy elements with real-world issues, creating a story that resonates with players on a deeply emotional level. The presentation was a masterclass on PlayStation as the game shipped with 3 separate discs, making each one feel like an ongoing series that constantly escalated the stakes for the player while making each section stand on its own. It was like the Lord of the Rings of video games, with one of the most iconic casts of playable teammates in JRPGs mixed in with what is quite arguably the most shocking death ever in a game. If you know, you know. You could comb down the list, let alone any rankings list, and each game featured will have some aspect from Final Fantasy VII that it already perfected the first time around back in the late 90s. Beautiful worlds that never seem to end, a gameplay loop constantly challenging the player and characters to evolve their skill set, side quests seamlessly integrated to make you feel the sense of urgency in your main story, alongside why you're fighting for the freedom and well-being of the planet. Your place in the world never lapses for a second, as every small detail loops back into what I would deem the 3 main arcs of this game's premise. Cloud's feud with Sephiroth, who will most definitely be in our top 25 antagonists in gaming next year, the ongoing revolution against the Shinra Electric Power Company that's utilizing the lifeblood of the planet to sustain a corrupt monarchy of sorts, and Cloud's relationship with the team of martyrs, Avalanche, as they all openly evolve over the game's runtime, to the point of even questioning whether their own acts towards freedom are justified as they are deemed terrorists. It's an interesting take because the beauty of the planet is obviously what you're fighting for. It's a simple premise with complex characters. As each person, you really see them grow, shrink, evolve, and transform over the game's runtime in a way that just simply wasn't done then. This game, it adds weight to dialogue text boxes and decisions I never thought possible at the time. Video games nowadays all pull from these core principles. We even have to take it a step farther. If Final Fantasy VII, what separates it in a lot of manners is, for a lot of games, there will be 2 or 3 sections you could point to and be like, yes, that is the greatest part of that game. If you go up to 100 random fans of Final Fantasy VII and ask them for their favorite moment, whether story or gameplay focused, almost every single person will give you a different moment, because this game means that much to so many people, and it has such an expansive list of dramatic set pieces. It goes through a wide range of tones from comedy, horror, surrealism, fantasy. It comes together in such a magnificent way that not a single other game can even stand close to. And those moments gaming with a great person in my life will always be memories I look back fondly on. See, his name was Paul, and this was one of his favorite games. Little old me was in awe of the moments early on, from kickstarting a revolution behind the scenes. I remember spending hours with Paul playing through this game and just watching him go through all these dynamic scenarios and just being blown away by what was going to come next. It was always changing and expanding in a way video games just I didn't see before. It felt like a movie. Now I was the one directing it. Not to mention all of the combat scenarios and the turn-based RPG format that was arguably perfected in this game. And to be fair, it's a beautifully constructed tale, with a remake sequel of sorts that is just as captivating as the original. Paul passed away a long time ago, and this game just kind of always sits with me. It was a special blend of everything we look for in a video game, and it's fitting that a game with so much meaning to me just happens to be one of the greatest games ever made. Final Fantasy VII was decades ahead of the industry, with its themes of life and death in comparison to humanity's relationship with nature and oneself. But for me, it's those quieter moments with your team that still resonate all these years later in all of its polygon-based glory. Many games on the list will have a handful of moments that stand out as being the most beloved. Yet Final Fantasy VII, I cannot reiterate enough, is so well constructed that if you went to 1,000 fans and asked for the top 3 moments, that list would be more expansive than this video itself. The moments are varied and meaningful, with even the smallest scenes holding such an impact, both due to the time of this game's release, just as much as the quality in its writing and presentation, a sign of a true masterpiece, and without a doubt, my frontrunner for the greatest story ever told in a video game.
What are you so afraid of? That I'm gonna end up like Sam? I can't get infected. I can take care of myself.
How many close calls have we had?
Well, we seem to be doing all right so far.
And now you'll be doing even better with Tommy.
Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie?
You're treading on some mighty thin ice here.
Your hands upon a dead man's gun and you're looking down the sights. Your heart is worn and the seams are torn and they've given you reason to fight. And you're not gonna take what
You're too smart for me,
got to give, and you're not gonna let them take your way to live because they've taken
If you love me one more time,
you've given them all
I'm gone.
you can give, and luck won't
You will
save
never
them.
see me again.
Hardware sales at the expense of a
They've given you a reason to fight.
You're talking robot, brother.
Affirmative.
And all the storms you've been chasing about to rain down tonight. And all the pain you've been facing about to come into the light. Your hands upon
Don't
a dead man's
fucking
gun
touch me!
and you're looking down the sights.
I'll go back,
Your heart is
but
warm
we're done.
and the seams are torn and they've given you a reason to fight. And you're not gonna take what they've got to give, and you're not
action. But I like it.